It's obvious from the current animation that the hips area needs quite a bit of adjustment. This includes the thigh joints, buttocks, and lower belly areas. Adjust the timeline to view the scene between frames 360 and 880 to focus on that area. The thigh joints, along with the shoulder joints, are among the most difficult to skin properly. Perhaps the term difficult is badly chosen here, as the process is the same as you have already learned, but it does take more time and effort to get this area to work to your liking. Don't let that scare you, as the principles you have already learned still apply. First, you start by blocking out the skinning, by selecting vertices and assigning them to their closest bone, and then you blend joint vertices to react to two or more bones. This means selecting one or more skin vertices, select the bone to affect them, and adjust their weights until it visually makes sense. With the proxy mesh selected, enter Edit Envelopes mode. In a side view, such as the left view, use the lasso tool to select vertices around the hips area. Do not go too low or too high at this point. In a facing view, add the vertices around the crotch area. Go around the back and add any vertices that should be part of the selection. Block out the selected vertices to follow the hips bone 100%. Do not worry about the character's right leg at this time. You'll use skin mirror tools in a second. Obviously, the belly area needs some work as well. Go back to the left view and select the vertices around the lower belly bone. Select the lower belly bone itself, spine 1, and assign it 100% influence on the selected vertices. Go up the spine, select the vertices around spine 2. Select the spine 2 bone and assign a 100% influence to block out that area. You'll worry about the torso later. Now that you've blocked out the work, you can go in and fine-tune the weights. The concept is the same as what you have already learned. You need to select the vertex loop and blend its values between two or more bones. Adjust your view again to look at the character from the front. If you haven't done so already, press G to disable the grid. Check out the left thigh joint around frame 490. It is clear that these skin loops need adjusting. The process should now be familiar to you. Select a loop, such as this one. Remember, you can use the Shift 2 hotkey you defined earlier. If a loop is broken, as is the case here, then you need to work a little harder to make the proper selection. Another powerful selection method is the Paint Selection tool. With this tool, you can select vertices by painting over them, which involves a simple click and drag. However, if you intend to use that tool, enable the Backface Skull Vertices option. This way, you're only selecting vertices in the foreground, which makes the selection more predictable. If you don't use Backface Skull, you'd be selecting background vertices as well. Be sure to always double-check your work, as the Backface Skull option is not always reliable. Start by assigning these vertices to follow the thigh bone by a factor of 100%, if they're not already set this way. Now you can fine-tune them to also be affected by the hips bone. Make sure you are around frame 490, 492, where the character is doing an extreme split. With the vertices still selected, select the hip bone and press Shift 1 to activate the vertex weight script. Click and drag to add a bit of influence from the hip bone. Don't overdo it just yet. You can always come back and make further adjustments later. You may decide that the vertices on the selected loop should have different weight values. Use the Alt key to remove the top vertices from the selection. Use the weight script again, Shift 1, to adjust the weighting a bit more. Keep on adding or removing vertices and adjusting their weight to get a result that you like. Move to the next thigh loop. This one should be easy to select using the Shift-2 hotkey. Again, work the weights of the vertices on that loop to be a little affected by the hips bone. As before, you may need to work the weights on individual vertices on that loop. Adjust the next loop in line, moving down the thigh. This one needs very little weight adjustments. Keep in mind that you will almost certainly be coming back to adjusting these vertices at some point. In other words, do not worry about getting it right the first time. Alternate between the Paint Selection tool in Backface Cull mode and the Lasso tool. Select vertices and adjust their weights. Keep an eye on how the mesh is deforming and adjust the weights accordingly. This means you select one or more vertices, select the bone of influence, and adjust the vertex weights accordingly. Keep on selecting vertices and adjusting their weight until the deformation seems to behave properly. Do not adjust vertices on the character's middle line yet. This will take you some time, but it is redundant work, so we'll skip the movie ahead to limit its length. Once you are satisfied with the deformation, you can mirror the skin data to the other leg. Enter Mirror Mode and use the Paste Blue to Green Verts function. Look closely and notice that some vertices are not exactly symmetrical. Decrease the mirror threshold value to 0.2 and try again. This time the effect is perfect. As far as the middle line of hips vertices go, these need to be affected by 3 bones: the hip bone and the 2 thigh bones, especially when the thighs rotate forward and back. Select all the middle vertices under the belt. At this time, they're affected only by the hip bone. To ensure the vertices are equally affected by the thigh bones, you need to use the Weight tool. With the vertices selected, select the left thigh bone. Click the 0.25 preset button to give it a 25% influence. The value matters little at this point. You'll change that in a second. Now select the right thigh and click the 0.25 preset button again. The weights are now all over the place. To fix this problem, select the middle bone in the dialog and give it a 100% influence, preset button 1. Now select the last bone and give it a 50% influence. Now each thigh bone has a 50% influence on the vertices. Finally, select the hip bone and give it a value such as 0.75. The weights are normalized, but at least the left and right thigh bones have identical influences on the vertices. From this point on, you only adjust the hip bone influence on these vertices. This way, you ensure that the weights coming from both thigh bones remain equal. Save your file. Remember that if you make a mistake, you can always revert back to one of the files you downloaded for this tutorial. In the next movie, you adjust the torso.